I don't have sponsors. Come on. What do you think this is? A movie that people or a show that people watch? Let's jump into the next segment. It is time for my hot take. It's our segment called Out of Focus. Now, if you've been around, you heard me rant a little bit earlier about AI, and I really think that there's a reason to be alarmed about AI, and there's a reason to plan for an AI future. But now is not really the time to really worry about it. Not immediately. There are much larger problems facing us right now. And let me get on my high horse, do a hot take about the people that I think are out of focus on AI. The film industry loves a good panic. AI is taking over. Festivals are dead. Theaters are finished. But how many of these things are actually true, or is it just industry overreaction? Today, we're putting AI under the lens and deciding if Hollywood is out of focus. Let's go. AI can generate an entire movie. Maybe. Is it fantasy? Is it a terrifying reality? I don't think so. I don't think so. If you've used these tools, yes, you probably see that AI could technically generate a feature-length film. Okay? You're not betting the truth there, right? Like, it physically could. It takes a lot of work, and the quality is middling to low at best. It's just not ready to make anything resembling a good movie. For one, characters are kind of glitchy, and they are uncomfortable in the way that they move. Like, anything that's moving is just not, it's not right. It's stuck in uncanny valley. And if you don't know what uncanny valley it is, it's when something has been created to mimic something and there's just something almost too perfect about it. But somehow AI generated video pulls off being too perfect and too broken at the same time, which is part of why I say I don't think that the tech is ready yet. There's also, like, faces they melt, they drift, they turn too fast. The motion is too sharp. The motion is too soft. They're still struggling with hands with like 15 fingers. That's a real AI problem right now. It's a tough one to solve. It's getting better. It's not there yet. Continuity just isn't supported by existing AI models. So by continuity, I mean, you're creating these clips 20 seconds at a time, right? So how are you going to take one clip and provide continuity when you're building the next clip? And you need to do this for 90 minutes. So let's do 90, what is this, times 60? We're doing 90 minutes. You got 20-second segments, and that's like ideal, right? This is if every segment from start to finish is usable. We're going 90 minutes, 60 seconds per minute, and 20 seconds per clip. You need 270 clips that provide continuity for the person watching. Otherwise, it's just this disjointed mess, right? If a director just all of a sudden jumped to a different character that looked subtly different in every single scene, every single viewpoint of the camera, you are not going to believe it. And maybe that's part of what AI film ends up being, is that you just embrace the fact that everything is a little bit different. But continuity the reality is continuity is not supported in existing AI models. There's also just the fact that dialogue has to be generated separately. Like, maybe at some point you can select a voice and you can feed dialogue into the platform, and it'll move the mouth in sync with the copy that you write, and the voice will come out and it'll have the right inflection and tone, and it'll be the right voice, and you'll have voice consistency across the whole thing. But as of right now, those voices have to be synced in post, and somehow if you are showing somebody talking, The voice has to match up with the lips. And we see it, but it is a lot of effort to do that. And that's going to be a problem. You also have the recycling problem, right? Like everything that we're seeing in AI is based on something that already exists, and it can be adapted, and it can be weird, and we can enjoy the weird, especially for certain genres of film. But the new and creative ideas are just blending of other existing ideas. We talked about Uncanny Valley, blinking, motion blur, sharp and smooth edges. None of it looks right yet. And in perfect circumstances, you believe it. And in very short clips, you can believe it because you don't have enough time for your brain to process what it is that you've seen, but it's not there yet. There's also just the fact that like the people that are really worried about AI replacing them, to me, is a misfounded concern. Because the work still exists. The work is just different, right? You need to engineer your prompts that get film clips out of AI. So yeah, prompt engineering is gonna be a job title, right? It's gonna be out there. That will be people whose job it is to put in the right asks to get the right result out. And it is going to be a very highly specialized and skilled job until these models get more and more effective, and it's going to be super important to film production. So think about doing that. You're not going to just work almost entirely without storyboarding, right? You want to plan this film out in advance. You want to be able to provide basic designs to the model to bring your vision to life. So storyboarding isn't going to go away. Post-production, to fix all the broken hands, broken eyes, broken lighting, fix the continuity issues. Sound design jobs aren't going to go away. Granted, sound is one of the things that these AI platforms are doing really well right now, and it's far ahead of the video because it's a little bit simpler and it's very pattern-based. But sound design and mixing and modification of music and the editing and VFX cleanup, those are all jobs that are going to still be super, super important. I think about the everyone wants to hold up this Coke ad that was created by AI as this great example of how all of this is going to replace us. But that Coke ad took multiple human artists. It needed extensive manual edits. They had to clean up VFX, and it's still pretty broken in a couple of places. And they needed to shape the narrative that came out of AI in order to make the ad. And this is a multi-$100 billion company, right? So, again, AI, in my perspective, is just not there yet. And here's a fun caveat. Even AI doesn't think that they are even remotely close. If you go into ChatGPT and you ask them, hey, how close are you to them? Ask the model, how close are you to being able to create a viable, real, passable film, feature-length film? It'll say it's about 5 to 10 years away from a passable film and 10 to 20 years away from a believable film. So yes, it's coming. And that just means that the jobs are going to move to a different place. But it's not now. It is not an immediate threat. It's a threat we should be preparing for, and the smart people will be preparing for a career that adapts to and takes advantage of the technology in order to continue to deliver quality products. But the ideas still need to come from humans, and the results that get spit out still need to be processed by humans for a very long time. Like in our lifetimes, we are still going to need humans in filmmaking. And just saying, hey, AI, really quickly, if you could just make me a new movie, I kind of want to watch a sci-fi thing, super spaceship and phaser heavy. I like Star Trek and Star Wars, if you could do that, but I want something like more narrative driven. You're not getting those results, and you're not getting it instantly. You're going to take hundreds of people to make that happen. And dude, a future where that can happen is going to be so fantastic from an entertainment standpoint. We're not there from a career standpoint, and we're not there from a practicality standpoint. Let me talk about the new skills, learning new skills thing, because the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about anybody who says like, they're coming to replace us. Like I worked, I was a director of product for a company that was a major publisher out in the world. And our writers had unionized, and one of the major concerns that they had was, any semblance of AI doing our jobs for us. We never delved into AI, and we protected those jobs all the way to the point where we went bankrupt. So I'll just throw that out there. But it makes me think of auto workers and the argument that auto workers had that robots were going to replace them, right? Robots did replace them, but new jobs were created, right? Somebody had to operate the robots. My dad worked for Boeing, making airplanes for almost 30 years. And over those 30 years, imagine the automation that came in and disrupted the job. He never lost his job. He just adapted to new skills and learned new things and learned how to use new equipment that made his job safer and less repetitive and protected human workers and shifted them to supervisory roles and running diagnostics and doing programming and high skill labor. Plus, when you look at it from an auto worker standpoint, you know what really happened in the auto industry when robots joined the process? It became affordable for more people to have cars. The price of cars dropped, which meant that more people could have them. It didn't eliminate the jobs. It increased demand because more people could have them because the prices dropped. And so think about that and scale that to what's happening in film and in creative industries, but with AI. Writers needed to learn how to use the ballpoint pen from the quill. They needed to learn how to use the typewriter from the ballpoint pen and the pencil. They had to learn how to use the computer. Musicians needed to were concerned that they were going to be replaced by Auto-Tune and Logic Pro and GarageBand and all these like low-cost digital editing platforms when they were at the time editing in analog platforms. But all that it did was really remove like the 90s studio gatekeepers as powerful entities in the industry. And yes, okay, so the streaming platforms and music and their pay scales for musicians are a fucking tragedy. But at the same time, indie producers have absolutely boomed, and everyone now has the tools to unlock creativity at scale. Same thing with cinema cameras, right? So for $4,000, you can go out and buy a Sony FX3, which is a camera that's used to make $100 million productions versus having to buy a $100,000+ Arri Alexa. There is accessibility that makes the art available to more people. If it wasn't for the digitization of the music industry, we wouldn't have Billie Eilish in her bedroom or Hans Zimmer working with 100-track songs. Film photographers feared digital photography, that it would be less artistic and it would eliminate craftsmanship. And what we're finding right now is that there's space for both and that there's no lack of new opportunities for creativity. The creativity may manifest itself in other ways outside of the camera, in addition to in the camera. But there's a life for all of it. And all these things do is continue to grow. And as long as the artists are protected, there's always room for the artist. But those artists have to learn and grow with the technology. Citizen journalism. Everyone said that social media was going to ruin journalism. I'm being facetious now. Citizen journalism did ruin journalism. But what about YouTube, right? YouTube is a democratic tool that eliminates gatekeeping in content sharing, right? It allows me to reach you. It allows all the people that you follow to build audiences and connect with those audiences. It allows you as somebody who watches content and consumes content to follow the things that you want and not the things that you don't want. Political bubbles that we are building aside, This is all a democratization of our ability to make fantastic content, more so than anything else. And I really do want to urge the people who are afraid of AI to go experience AI. One, because you're going to see there are things that it's good at, and there are things that it's really bad at. And the people who are really effective with using AI technology and massive language model technology, large language model technology. I just invented something. Massive language. It's an LLM. It's an MLM. Go experience it. There are things that it's really bad at. There are things that it's really good at. And there are things that you're going to find it's going to be really helpful for you with. If I had to plan this multi-hour show every week from scratch without a research assistant, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I'm able to do this show today because AI helped me with my research. I went and I then checked all the facts, and I definitely found things that it was incorrect about. But I couldn't have put it together if it wasn't able to streamline that process a little bit. And look, I am a nut job in his basement, and by that I mean a tall building in New York who can't afford to pay somebody. And the instant that I can pay somebody to do that, I am so excited to do that because I'm going to get so much better results from somebody who is doing it instead of AI. So go experience it. If you haven't experienced it, go experience it. If you want to experience it, go experience it. Go use the tools before you criticize them. One, because you're going to feel a lot better about your job security. But two, because you're also going to find that there are ways that it can help you. Okay,